Hello, everyone. This is Coresair Mack, president of the Illinois Mental Health Counselors Association. And today we're going to go over an Adlerian technique called acting as if. And also, we're going to go over one of its variations, reflecting as if, as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. So ultimately, I couldn't really find a really great website to help visualize to you guys what acting as if is. But ultimately, like I mentioned, it's an Adlerian technique, one of the older ones, that helps show the client, what would happen if they had all the tools that they needed to succeed. So acting as if the problem is solved already, right? This can help challenge clients' self-limitations put on them, their assumptions, and helps them promote and grow their self-esteem and self-confidence as well. And ultimately, it'll help the client see, how far they have moved already and how much of it is their assumptions and opinions that are holding them back. So ultimately, that is acting as if, essentially faking it till you make it. But if you made it, then was it really fake to begin with? So that's something to really take a look at and consider. So now let's get into one of its variations, reflecting as if. All right, so here we are at counseling today, and we are going to get into reflecting as if, which is one of acting as if's variations. All right, so basically when we get to this top part, so an integration of cognitive, existential, psychodynamic, and systems perspectives, Adlerian counseling theory is a holistic, phenomenological, socially oriented, and technological or goal directed approach to understanding and working with people. Furthermore, Adlerian counseling theory is a relational constructivist approach and affirms that people must be understood contextually because it is in our relationships that we understand ourselves, others, and the world around us. All right. And then it gets more into, Adlerian counseling. So if you guys want to read that, feel free to. But we'll skip to this next part. All right, so given that Adlerian counseling is a relational constructive approach, it makes sense that it shares significant common ground with various constructive perspectives on counseling, including cognitive constructivist and personal construction therapy, solution focused brief therapy, and narrative therapy. Beyond the many theoretical points of resonance, it is noteworthy that both Adlerian and constructive approaches to counseling strongly affirms the importance of the client-counsel relationship, are optimistic and present/future oriented, and focus primarily on client strengths, resources, and abilities rather than on their weaknesses, deficits, and disabilities. So that's important to remember as we get into this technique because remember, we got to focus on their strengths and not their weaknesses, right? Because that's what's going to ultimately help them build up that self esteem, that self confidence, and things like that. All right, so now we're going to skip to this last paragraph here and get into the technique. All right, so given this common ground, it is not surprising to find that interventions discussed in the constructive therapy literature are either similar to or congruent with interventions used in Adlerian counseling, nor is it surprising to see significant opportunities for technical integration between the two. This article presents a brief, encouragement focused counseling process that integrates the Adlerian acting as if technique with procedures drawn from constructive approaches to counseling. So, expanding the acting as if technique. All right, so I'm going to read some of this and we'll actually get into the technique itself. All right, one specific area Adlerian and constructive therapy share is that both see value in using the as if quality of human experience in counseling and psychotherapy. Humans act as if the constructs by which they engage in in everyday activities are facts or absolute truths rather than social constructions that are contextually situated. Using this perspective, Alfred Adler developed the acting as if technique, which encourages clients to begin acting as if they were already the person they would like to be. And then, for example, a confident individual, the process of asking clients to pretend and emphasize that they are only acting. The purpose of the procedure is to bypass potential resistance to change by neutralizing some of the perceived risk. Acting as if affords clients the opportunity to enact alternative or preferred outcomes and possibly restore oppressive aspects of their personal meta narrative. All right, and then let's get into the RI phases. All right, so, and this says reflecting as if. So the RAI process has three phases. In phase one, the counselor uses reflective questioning to access the creativity and imagination of clients. In phase two, the client and counselor co-constructs as if plans of action on the basis of the client's reflective thinking. In the final phase, clients implement the as if behaviors and then discuss that experience in session with the counselor. As with most action oriented procedures, the use and success of the RAI process is predicated on the development and maintenance of a solid client counselor relationship. So, phase one. The initial phase of RAI, counselors use reflective questions such as the following: if you were acting as if you were the person you would like to be, how would you be acting differently? If I were watching a videotape of your life, what would be different? So on and so forth. So, somewhat similar to like the miracle question, but in this case, we're more focused on behavior. All right, so in phase one, counselors write down clients' responses to these similar questions without judgment or critique. On the basis of what has been shared in prior counseling sessions, counselors can contribute ideas as well. Sometimes clients may offer responses that are too broad. In such cases, counselors will need to ask more specificity. Once it appears the initial reflective process has been completed, the counselor and client are ready to move to phase two. All right, so then in phase two, in the second phase, the RAI process, the client and counselor co-construct a list of as-if behaviors that indicate how the client will act in moving towards his or her desired goals. As part of this co-construction phase, the client and counselor discuss the viability of each item on the list and eliminate items that are not realistic. Subsequent to developing the as-if behavior list, the counselor asks the client to rank the items from least difficult to most difficult. After the client has ranked these behaviors, the counselors engage the clients in a dialogue about the difficulty levels of the items and their position on the list. Once the ranking process and dialogue are complete, the client is ready to begin the enactment process. Then again to phase three. So phase three starts with the client selecting a few of the least difficult as-if behaviors to enact for the coming week, beginning with the least difficult behavior, increasing the potential for client success because success is typically encouraging for clients and often increases the perceived self-efficacy. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied today. Success typically increases the client's motivation to courageously engage in more difficult tasks on his or her list. In session that follows, the client and counselor discuss the enactment of the as-if behavior selection for the previous week. Enacting new behaviors often helps clients perceive themselves, others, and the world differently. All right, and then the last part I'll read about this. All right, so the clients can grow frustrated and discouraged as they attempt the more difficult task on their as-if behavior list. Because progress no longer comes so easily or consistently, clients may be more patient and find the process less frustrating if counselors use encouragement to help clients frame success in terms of efforts and incremental growth rather than final outcome. Helping clients understand positive movement as success is a key element to the Adlerian understanding of encouragement. All right, so if you guys want to read the rest, you can, but I'm going to go into my final thoughts. So I know this is a little bit of a longer video, so I apologize about that, but here are the final thoughts on how I implement the as-if technique with my clients. So ultimately, I usually pair this with the miracle question. If you went to sleep and woke up and all your problems were solved, what would be different? But then I would also say, how would you act different? So how would you act as if the problems were solved? And then we take a look at how the clients would act and then be more solution focused and seeing how can we implement those behaviors in your everyday life. And then do just like what the article said from the least difficult to the most difficult, then implement those lists so that way clients can have homework and acting as if, right, doing those least difficult behaviors first for a week and then moving forward depending on if the client has done it or not. And then if there are any barriers, really take note to see what really prevented you from doing that. Or you probably started this and then stopped. So let's take a look at why you stopped doing it, right? What barriers were there? And really take a look to see how we can overcome those barriers. And then also really be more solution be more solution focused and saying, okay, here are some solutions to help overcome those barriers so that way you can implement those behaviors and things like that. But ultimately, that's it. So that is the as if technique as well as reflecting as if. So thank you guys very much for listening. And if you guys do have any questions or want to learn more about IMCA, you can feel free to call us at 815-787-0515, or you can email us at myimca@gmail.com. You can do that also if you want us to make any YouTube videos about anything mental health, substance use, or wellness related. All right, thank you guys very much. This is Coresair Mack, President of the Illinois Mental Health Counselors Association, signing out.